Let's bring in our first guest of the day on FT Live, Rob Friedman, pitching ninja, joining us right now. What is that noise?
Oh, sorry.
Sounds like you had
Sorry,
to go.
I just had
What?
Whoa, what's going on there, big fella?
He didn't time his pregame coffee. Yeah.
Dude, I am sorry. I just sometimes can't time everything.
Hey, you're human, Rob. So is Pete Alonso. What did you think of that over the weekend? And I mean, because you do a great job analyzing pitches, obviously, and everyone can follow him. I'll give all the plugs there. But I just thought it was funny where, I pay attention to so much deep analytical content. And there's definitely someone out there who wanted to write a little blurb about why Pete swung first pitch. And we just completely shat on that theory.
I was waiting to put a tail on it or something. Do an overlay, something to make it interesting, right? I could do that. I'll go back and do it.
He can do that. Exactly. Yes. We will look for that on Pitching Ninja.
Yeah. Rob, who's your favorite pitcher right now?
That's a really tough question. Probably Strider right now, I would say. Love watching Ohtani. McClanahan's awesome, but there's something about Strider and his dominance that's a lot of fun to watch.
Have you heard the story about me and Strider? Have you heard this story?
Oh no, what did you do?
No, I keep asking the Braves to let me stand in for his bullpens because every time but so I couldn't get anybody to agree to it. So I did a game 2 weeks ago, and Spencer said, "Yeah, if you're in town and I'm throwing a bullpen, just make sure you wear a helmet and a lot of protection." And I was like, "That's fine. I've been hit by plenty of dudes, but I want to see this because everyone you talk to says it's different." And I'm like, "Well, what does different mean?" And I watched him. I stood from me to Scott away as he threw his bullpen a couple weeks ago. I mean, it comes out. Shoo! I mean, but until you stand in there and you actually are like, "Oh man, I want to see this," but I want to see it live and in person. So I'm working on it.
Yeah, well, they had a great view on Sun. It doesn't do it justice, right? You're seeing a view from the umpire cam, and it looks great. I mean, the ball's coming at you, it keeps its playing well, but still, standing in the box is way different.
Okay, so you named McClanahan, Strider, Rob. I feel like you didn't go out on a limb. Who's a guy that we don't know about? Who's a guy we don't know about?
I mean, did you watch Ben Joyce yesterday?
I was just going to say, you can't say Ben Joyce. You've been throwing him up since he was in Tennessee.
Let's go out on a limb. Who would be? How about Jimmy Herget? Do you ever watch him?
Oh,
he throws, throws like Uncle Rico a little bit. It's fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
he throws a stake up there. Hit a homer against him in AAA. So I appreciate you saying that, Rob. But anyway,
I did that to just bring that up.
Yes.
I also want to know, do you have your knuckleball grip by any chance?
I do. You can see it if you want. I appreciate you putting me out on socials. Your post gets more retweets of my knuckleball against Rafael Devers. I threw plenty before that, but you never showed them. It was just that one because you are, as AJ would like to say, New York bias.
No.
He sure doesn't sound New York biased.
No.
He sounds like he's from the South somewhere.
I am from the South. My camera's all jacked up.
Your camera's New York biased right now.
It is. Let me fix this.
I want to know.
Perfect.
I want to know what the hell is a sweeper, and what the hell is an unknown. So in Miami, when single stage just says unknown, and then the sweeper phenomenon. Is it a curveball?
No.
Slider? Sweep? What the hell is a sweeper?
So, all right, well, let's get into it. A sweeper is basically a slider. People have been throwing sweepers for forever, occasionally. The big thing now is we're able to replicate it better with all the technology. So we can make a pitch that goes predominantly horizontally. It's still a drop. I mean, it's hard to differentiate from a slider, but it's a subcategory of sliders. Just like a square is a subcategory of rectangles, or a two-seamer is a fastball, but a different type of fastball. Knuckle curve is a curveball, but a different type of curveball. It's just another categorization to describe something that is taking place more. We're throwing more horizontally breaking sliders, so we want to differentiate from the gyro slider, this bullet spin slider that goes kind of straight down. Does that make any sense?
So, okay, it does. So, I remember Allen with the Indians. He threw a boatload of sliders. Would you consider that a sweeper? Because it was a power curveball. It swept out of Vino. It's more horizontal.
Cody Allen you're talking about, right?
Cody Allen.
There's been a lot of Allens in Cleveland since.
Shaw. Shaw also.
Yeah, and it'll kind of depend. Like sometimes it's an arm angle thing, and an arm angle makes it look like it's sweeping. You'll have like a Chris Sale dropping down, and it's not really a sweeper; it's a slider that's thrown with that trajectory. But a sweeper is more because of the spin on the ball and really the seam orientation. Again, really deep into like science crap. But if a ball's positioned the right way, the seams kind of take over and will make the balls break a ton. So yeah, Ottavino would be one of those guys. Corey Kluber is kind of the godfather of it. He called his a breaking ball or a curve ball, but it's really kind of the genesis of all this sweeper stuff. Everybody saw it and said it was so tough to hit. And now people can replicate it by using slow-mo cameras, things like Hawkeye and other stuff.
Some pitchers love calling it that, and we've been classifying that on many TV broadcasts. Some pitchers don't. We had Chris Bassett on, and he's like, no, it's just a slider. Call it a slider, even though there are two different types of sliders like you're talking about. I just showed AJ side-by-side of Bryce Miller's sweeper grip and gyro slider grip. And the grips are very different, very easy to differentiate the two. So shouldn't we just be classifying this as a separate pitch like many are doing? Do we have to push back against some of the current and former players here?
I would push back, and I have pushed. I talked to Sonny Gray about it. So Sonny Gray started saying, I don't know why we have a sweeper. It's basically a slider. I'm like, well, think about a two-seamer versus sinker. They're both spinning on two seams, right? And, you can't, but one may not drop as much. One, your seam orientation is different, so it's going to drop. The other, you really don't want it to drop. You want it to kind of break towards the plate mostly. And he was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I see that. Like if it has more vert, it's this. And so if you explain it, they kind of get it. But it's really combined for hitters. Like if you're a hitter and you know that some pitchers have both, like Bryce Miller has both. And if you have both, do you say he has two different sliders, or you can say he has a slider and a sweeper so you can visualize the movement? I think it's a little easier to communicate. I'm not, I don't get any money from like people saying sweeper. I'm not getting like kickbacks on it, but I do understand why we do it.
Okay,
but
two
with
things.
I'm saying with velocity. Sorry, real quick. But we're talking about grips. There's a lot of people throw knuckle curveballs different sorts of ways, change ups different sorts of ways. So just because you grip something, he grips it differently, doesn't necessarily change the pitch. Like circle change, you grip them, the four seam change up, or you just turn them over and throw that two seam change up, or however you want to throw the pitches. So does grip necessarily just classify as a pitch?
Sometimes not. Like there's a split change. You can throw a split change, right? And that's a change up with a split grip. You have knuckle curve, which is it's a curveball, but it's just a different grip on a curveball. So sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. With a sweeper, it's more about the movement and less about the grip. So it's more about something that traditionally people wanted to throw a slider that had bullet spin and drop more straight down. Whereas a sweeper, everybody's like, you don't want your slider to sweep. You don't want it to have this slurvy action. You want it to be tight and go down. Now it seems like with people focusing on more launch angle swings, you're able to get towards the end of the bat, just get off the barrel a little bit with it. And sometimes hitters run out of bat because of that horizontal movement.
No, Rob, Scott brought up Bryce Miller. He doesn't throw a slider. He throws like 92% fastballs or something crazy. I mean, he just so what do he care how he throws his damn sweeper? He literally goes, woo, fastball, woo, fastball,
fastball,
woo, fastball. I mean, he doesn't throw anything else. He took over for Peralta, right? So you're bringing up Bryce Miller. Like, dude, he doesn't even throw a slider. So he can hold it however he wants. It doesn't matter. But so you on your Twitter, you had Ben Joyce, 102 mile an hour with handballs, whatever you want to call it. Is that really classified a sinker at 102? I know on the TV it says sinker. I'm like, that's not. I mean, it's 103 miles an hour. It just moves because he kind of gets around it a little bit. It's not like he's trying to make it go down, right?
No, and I totally agree with you on that. Like, I think what happened is StatCast was calling every two-seam pitch a sinker. And we all know the difference between a sinker and a two-seamer. That was something we generally would call something that breaks arm side. And they just lumped them all in together. They've now said, all right, sinker / two-seamer, which is a little better. But I don't consider what Ben Joyce was throwing a sinker. I think it's more like an alien two-seamer rising thingy. Like it's just nasty.
What, 104?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a pitch that hasn't been developed yet? With all this information, all this stuff, like what is, and if there is a pitch that hasn't been developed, what is it? Like where are people like searching the outer reaches of pitch development?
That's a super question, because just recently we discovered that you look at the whole history of baseball, right? We've been playing this game for forever, and we only thought that there were certain forces on the baseball that made it move the way it did. It's Magnus force, basically rotating, and it's either going to go up or down. You have your 12-6 curveballs, blah, blah, blah. We just realized recently that if the ball can spin asymmetrically so that one seam kind of hits the air differently, and that seam creates a wake behind the ball, which makes it move weird. We were able to do it with two seamers and change-ups. We just realized with the sweeper that you can do it with a sweeper. I'm assuming there are other things you can do with that, like knowing that actually makes the ball move differently. There are different orientations of the baseball that can make it move differently. I just don't know the answer. It may be like an Eric Kratz knuckleball that just catches a seam a certain way and has this sick movement.
Sounds delicious.
Hey, let's move to sticky stuff. So these guys have all been very vocal about it. So has almost every pitcher that's been on this show. And we have multiple guests every day. So I wanted to get your take and the conversations that you have with current MLB pitchers about what's next here. Because yes, it's not a daily problem, but it's still a massive problem when there are pitchers being suspended. There's confusion, there's washing hands, there's judging how sticky a hand is. And most importantly, almost any pitcher we talk to doesn't know or understand the rules and protocol.
That's the problem. That's the problem as I see it too. How can it depend on the umpire and what the umpire just feels that day? Could be the umpire's hand's a little sticky or sweaty or different in a day. And it depends on the weather. It depends on so many different things. And the pitcher doesn't do anything different. Pitcher could be putting on the same amount of rosin, but one day it's stickier than the other. I don't think having it as a subjective thing is a good idea. I think we have enough information now where we can look at spin rates during the game. We know a historical spin rates. Maybe if it's a new guy, we don't. But if you have someone like Max Scherzer, you know where his spin rates lie. You even know what weather, how it affects it. We can say, all right, there's something out there. It's varying way too much. Let's check them. But the idea that we're just going to rely on an umpire touching someone's hand to say, this is too sticky, this is okay, this one I'm going to let wash, this one I'm not. Come on. Like, why are we going that way in the game instead of using stuff that we know works? Like, we can determine this stuff.
Everything else is done biometrically and stuff. Why can't we get that? I love that you said that. Do you think there's any one thing that's launched your content more than sticky stuff?
Ooh. Yeah, there's a bunch of different things. I think at one point, getting my account shut down from Twitter launched my account even more when I came back. It's just because MLB was like, wait a second, we actually love what you do. We just want to, we want it to be more official. And to me, that really helped. But yeah, sticky stuff is a big deal. It gets every fans have strong opinions. And definitely, like, when you use sticky stuff, the pitches are nastier. So I kind of like that. That's fun, right?
Have you been able to grab or play with any other balls, like the Japanese ball? Obviously, because obviously I played in Japan, so their ball comes in, looks like a little chocolate. It has a little tackiness already, so they don't need to rub it up or anything like that. So have you had the experience of using a different ball? And I think Major League pitchers need to try these things and see if it spins, because there should be a universal ball at this
there
point.
Should be.
God,
1,000% agree. I don't understand why we don't do it, except I think they're trying it out right now. And it had some really weird results in that, like, pitches were moving in ways that we don't even see at MLB level. So it was like too sticky maybe, but we can figure this out. Like, this isn't rocket science. We can get a ball that a pitcher can hold on to. A hitter knows he's not going to wear one every time because the pitcher loses control, but it doesn't give a pitcher an unfair advantage. Like, we all want the same thing. We want the game to be kind of even. Of course, I mean, I'd rather it be shaded towards the pitcher and nasty stuff, but I'm okay with it being even. We could do that.
Rob, so you're saying what you just said doesn't make any sense.
Why?
Because you just said MLB will figure this out. Do you know how hard it is for MLB to figure out anything? They can't. You think they're going to figure out a universal ball? They can't figure out.
Japan has it figured out.
I didn't say Japan.
They're
I said
better
Major
than
League
we.
Baseball. You really think that they're going to come up with a ball that everybody's going to agree and be like, oh, that's it? No chance. No chance, because there's too many people that are going to get, oh, it doesn't feel right on my two-seamer. My sweeper's not sweeping anymore. Like, no, it's not. It's going to take forever because they're just going to start arguing until it comes down to dollars and cents.
Yeah, but we argue about everything, right? Like, it's got to do something. I mean, we did get rid of sticky stuff for the most part. That was a good thing, I think, because it was getting ridiculous. I mean, even as a pitching guy, you're watching it, and this ball shouldn't move that way. So we can probably agree on something. Like, just give me something a little bit, something other than an umpire feeling a dude's hand and going, yeah, I think that's the stickiest hand I ever felt. Like, what kind of standard's that?
No.
There isn't a standard.
I mean,
that's the problem. There's no standard.
It's terrible.
But don't you think guys create more torque than they did in previous generations to be able to make the ball move because we're bigger, stronger, faster than each generation?
Yeah, 100% agree on that. Yeah, definitely. But adding sticky stuff to it, yeah, like then it's doubly unfair, right? Like
plus everyone throws. You're talking about sticky stuff. Adam's talking about torque. That's the reason I feel like we get more injuries, though. Yes, we're bigger, stronger, faster, but at the same time, we're asking guys to do more stuff that nobody's ever been able to do. And like, we'll use Ben Joyce. He's never pitched back-to-back games. He's never pitched back-to-back days. He's in the big leagues. Phil Nevin's going to go, man, I like this 102-mile-an-hour super ball this dude throws. Let's throw him again today. Well, guess what? He pitched yesterday. He needs 2 days off. Like that. Maybe it's not the sticky stuff in the maybe it's we need to develop guys to be able to do more things and just go out there and throw 107 every pitch.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that, because as a competitor, you're always going to go. I mean, you go balls out, right? Like you don't beat somebody with going, I'm going to go 80%. You're put in there, you're going to go 100%. And these guys are bigger and stronger and faster and are going, balls to the wall every time out. Yeah, stuff. If you redline a car, things break. If you redline a pitcher, sometimes things break. I also think, though, we have better ways of fixing these injuries. So some injuries that may not have been fixed back in the day, because some surgeries are more successful now, you may see more of them, even though these injuries were happening back in the day. Think of like open heart surgery. You didn't see open heart surgery in the 1880s because your patient would die every time. But once it became good enough, you said, hey, we can do this. And now you can do it like an outpatient surgery. So as that surgery and as these things get better, you're able to take care of it quicker, and maybe a nagging injury or something that you would have lived with and pitched through, you're now getting taken care of and fixed. So that could be some of it.
I want to take us in another direction here on marketing the sport and individual players, because that's something that you've done a brilliant job of over at Pitching Ninja, of course, on Twitter, IG, YouTube, etc. So where do you think we need to go next? You and I have spoken about this too, right? We want to bring out those Pete Alonso poop homer stories and humanize these guys, but also have the game be able to connect with a more casual fan, right? And we still get into the deep, like this discussion, baseball topics. So where do you think we're at? Obviously, I'm the only non-player here. So with our player hosts, what do you think they can do to contribute to the game being displayed in the best way possible? Because our sport has super cool personalities too that I think we still need to tap into.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that some of it is stuff like you're doing. Like, give me all the poop stories. Give me these personal anecdotes that people can relate to. Like, everybody's been in a car and had a poop at some point, or like wanted to get something done with. So you can sit there and go like, what if I was facing 100-mile-an-hour fastball and had a poop? That would suck. But giving more personality, letting personalities out. But also, I think sometimes it's a little bit less of going the back in my day. Yeah. Oop.
Did you have to poop?
No, are you good?
Stuff like this is perfect. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like no, we're all human. Have to poop during the during the ninja segment.
Rob, we'll expect hats and shirts from you for all of us. Scott wears a extra small, and the rest of us are adult size. So
AJ's on fire today.
So we'll expect some pitching ninja shirts.
No, but
and hats,
but let him finish. Yeah, finish.
Well,
where you were going.
He had to go. He said.
What?
No, I'm fine. I don't have to go. I don't have to go. I'm good.
No, I think he was getting a call or something.
Oh, okay.
Which happens.
Yeah, no, I just heard stuff on my headset. I was like, "What is going on?"
Oh, I know who that was. By the way, just to give everyone a little inside info, Rowdy Telez just checked in, so you probably heard him.
Yeah, Rowdy, what is up? Why are you doing this to me, my man?
Rowdy would love to actually bomb any interview.
Yeah, exactly.
That is very Rowdy.
Just did it.
Yes. But no, just to finish on this one, I want to hit home on this if we can.
Yeah, so I think the big thing is what you guys are doing. I want to see more personalities. I want to see less back in my day. Like, we can all tell stories. Every generation's got this. Back in my day, we didn't stay on the internet. We didn't play video games. We read books, or we worked on the farm all day. No one cares. Like, nobody cares. We want to hear like what these players are doing today. There's a reason why we're throwing sweepers. There's a reason why pitchers are throwing harder. And it's because a lot of this stuff works. And if we start thinking about that and saying, hey, if I had this technology, what would I have done? Would it have changed anything? Or I don't like this technology, but I understand why it's important. I think being able to contextualize it and stop crapping on today's game, but more bringing out personalities in today's game and then showing why these guys are ridiculous. Like, not like, well, he's no Joe DiMaggio. I want to hear why you should love these guys. And then people fall in love with the game.
I did work with Mad Dog, and half the players were compared to Joe DiMaggio if they weren't good enough.
That was exactly who I was. Yeah, and that was who I was. Taking a shot.
Got to watch the current game. Yeah, Adam loves him, so he's probably going to spend 5 minutes on Mad Dog later for yelling at Marcus Stroman for being too emotional. But that's another topic.
So annoying. He compares everybody to people from the '60s. Nobody watched that.
Yeah,
totally agree.
Alive for that. So
yeah, exactly. Damn.
Did he really crap on Stroh for being too emotional too?
Yeah, he's like, oh, well, Whitey Ford wouldn't have done that. Well, no shit. Damn.
Exactly.
I love, give me all that stuff. Yeah, totally agree with you. Nobody wants to watch a bunch of guys with, blank faces play the game and not see any personality. You have a bunch of kids that would, you want to see emotion. You want to see somebody. I talked to Devin Williams and he said, don't act like you've never done it before. Act like you've done it before. Act like you've never done it before. And this is something no one's ever seen, so that everybody gets into it and they get fired up. In soccer, you don't score a goal and just walk off like, yeah, I just scored a goal. Everybody goes crazy.
Exactly. I'm with you. Hey, Rob, this was awesome catching up with you. Would love to have you back. And obviously you got Adam going now, so we'll continue that in a little bit and get Rowdy in here. But hey, great catching up with you. There were about 80 poop puns too, which is perfect timing. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Rob. You can follow Rob's amazing content at Pitching Ninja on Twitter, IG, and on YouTube. It's at Pitching Ninja Videos.